Hi everybody, John Hawley here to talk a bit about fuel supplements. A lot of contractors we bump into don't seem to understand what they are, how they're calculated, or why it's so important to pay attention to them every week. According to our analysis, the average contractor is losing $2,000 per month. These are payments that you're contractually owed by FedEx in order to compensate for higher fuel cost areas versus lower fuel cost areas. Most of the time, the problem is a simple one to fix. It simply means that you have the wrong truck number in the T-Check system. Let me show you how these things are calculated. It all starts in Schedule C of your contract, in which you'll find 3 rate tables. One's the standard rate table, one's for longer vehicles, and one's for longer vehicles in the western states. The same process applies, you just have to pick the right table depending on your situation. So here's a standard set of line haul trips. If you look at this column highlighted here, that's your fuel payment. It looks like a small number, but remember that number is multiplied by every mile of every trip, so it does add up to a big number. The process for getting that number works as follows. FedEx looks at all of your fuel tickets for that truck. Then if you scroll down in your settlement and you look at the VMR calculations, they total the fuel tickets and figure out your average price per gallon for the truck. One thing to note is that if you bought retail fuel, they have adjusted that down to the wholesale price, so you're not getting any extra bonus for having bought retail fuel. They recalculate it based on the wholesale cost where you bought the fuel. Now that FedEx has the average price per gallon for that truck for the week, they go back to that fuel rate table, figure out what your fuel supplement is per mile, and that's how they insert it into your line haul trip on the settlement sheet. The process for spots is basically the same, just using the spot trip instead. Now that you've seen the process, you can understand why you might get zero. If FedEx goes looking for fuel tickets for a truck in a particular week and doesn't find any, their algorithm defaults to 0. So you essentially get nothing even though you've bought fuel and you've run miles. The process for looking to see if you have a problem with your fuel supplements is pretty straightforward. You have to scan your settlement, both the line hauls and the spots, and look for any zeros in the fuel supplement column. If you see them, you know you weren't paid anything for that week for that truck. The hard part is that now you have to go and scan for each truck. You have to look at the trips and look at the gas purchased and vice versa, and that's pretty time consuming. 99% of the time, the problem is caused because you have a fuel card in a truck that has a different truck number registered in the T-Check system. This commonly occurs when you have rental trucks with truck number changes. It also commonly occurs when you have a breakdown and your manager or your driver grabs the fuel card from the broken down truck and drops it into the new truck but doesn't update the T-Check system. Less common, but also a problem, is when you use a spare truck for only a day or so and you don't actually need to fill the truck. You end up with miles for the truck that week, but you never bought gas, so there's no fuel tickets to match it to, even though the fuel card is keyed to the correct number. There's 2 things you need to do to avoid this problem. Number 1, always make sure that T-Check has the correct truck number in the T-Check system. And number 2, always make sure you get some fuel, any amount of fuel, for every truck that ran that week. For those of you not inclined to do this manually each week, we do have an automated solution for this. If you're using our software, we present to you front and center exactly how many miles we're missing fuel supplements for the week. Digging into it, we show you truck by truck how many miles were run, how many gallons were purchased, and we highlight things that don't look right to us. In the example shown here, there are 2 trucks that bought a whole lot of fuel and had no miles that week. And a little bit lower, we see 2 trucks that had a whole lot of miles but no gallons. And the net is that they're missing approximately $1,500 in fuel supplement payments just for 1 week. Now I would bet that this is a simple case where these 2 trucks that were running had fuel cards in them which were keyed in T-Checks to the other 2 truck numbers that it got registered as fuel purchases. The good news is, with this information, you can go back to FedEx, present the data to them, and they will make an adjustment and pay that money. That's the story on fuel supplements. We hope it was valuable to you. If you'd like to provide feedback, please use the comments below or get in touch with us directly. Have a great day.